Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast, where we look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of a songwriter. Each week, we make a connection with a music maker, listen to their songs, and hear their stories. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenahan.
Hermitage, to be more exact. The town between two lakes, which is Old Hickory, and the one I'm closer to is Percy Priest Lake. And here we are. One of my favorite episodes that we did a while back was something called Under the Hood, where we got together early in the morning and we wrote a song. And it was Mark-Alan Barnette and Angie Jolyn, who we're going to meet today. And from Wisconsin, we had Mark Monroe. And we wrote a song in the morning, and then we just opened up the hood and dissected how it was written, and then played it. It's a song about a girl playing Merle, and right. It's a song that we still play around every now and then because it's been fun. Well, we have two of those folks back today. Mark-Alan Barnette, how are you?
I'm good, Dave. How are you today?
Doing the Mark-Alan Barnette tour still?
That's it. This is my radio voice. I just wanted you to know.
As I said, I never heard it that deep.
WKRP.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati. Why don't you introduce our guest today?
Oh, well, she has become one of my favorite buddies. We met about 5-6 years ago over at the Maxwell House, Lee Rasconi, and I wanted to say get well soon to Lee and Lee Jr. because they're both going through health issues, and so I hope they're okay. But she showed up at the Maxwell House, and when you see a really good-looking girl walk into a place, you know she's either a singer or she's there with a singer. And she would not say anything. She just kind of stayed by herself. And then we, everybody's going, who is this girl? And so Lee started finding out a little bit about her and found out that her name is Angie Jolyn, and she has been here most of her life. Her dad was one of the first guitar players with the Wailers, Waylon Jennings band, and then became a very reputable songwriter with cuts by everybody, and Dolly and Waylon and Willie. And he just had everybody through the 60s and the 70s. Right. And then I got to know her a bit. She had a group with her sisters back in the 90s, a group called Comanche, and just was really kind of had stepped away from music for a while. I had an affinity for her because they got very close to record deals in the 90s, just like I did, but it didn't quite happen, which is what happens sometimes, you know. And so we just kind of got to know each other, and she had gotten married, had a kid, Joseph, and decided that she wanted to get back and start being around music. And that's hard for a girl in this town because, there's a lot of predators out there, and there's just a lot of people that will take you off on the wrong direction,
That's true.
Everybody in this town thinks they know what they're talking about. They think they know they've got just the way you ought to go. And sometimes you can spend a lot of money. Sometimes you can just go off in the wrong directions. And for me, as I teach as my tours and stuff, I kind of take an affinity for women who are trying to find their way through it. How do they stay away from it? So I've been able to kind of mentor her and work with her. And one morning I was watching a movie with from the band, The Last Waltz.
Great film.
Martin Scorsese. That's right.
Something like that.
Say that 3 times. And they did a segment with Emmylou Harris. And Emmylou was just like the major country crush back in the 70s and the 80s.
No doubt, man.
And I'm looking at her, I'm going, oh my God, she looks just like Emmylou Harris at that time. And so her voice is kind of similar. And so I started calling her Angelou, but you have to do the back. It has to be Lou, Angelou. So that's where it all came. And so
we call her Angelou.
That's it. You walk in, and that's what. But she's just become a mainstay around all of us, and we've had a great time. We've met her husband Billy Joe, who, as you know, jumped off those bridges, the Tallahatchie Bridge, because it was
without
the Tallahatchie foot bridge. It was just an inch and a half tall. But she and I have become great friends. We write a lot. I have recorded several things on her. Some she'll be talking about, and some that we did. We've just recently done. And so without further ado, Angelou.
Without further ado, Angelou.
Well, hello.
Angie.
I'm glad you're having me here, Dave, and Mark-Alan, and thank you so much.
Good to sit with you around the dining room table. Yeah.
It's a nice dining room table.
Well, hey,
it's got cookies.
Yeah, got cookies and leftover Halloween candy. Yeah. We're here to rot your teeth today. Here we go. A little coffee, too. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming all this way.
Well, thank you.
Now you grew up in the Nashville area, so this is right. This is
yes.
You're the one.
Well, thank you, Mark, for introducing me and saying all that stuff.
Isn't that nice?
Yes, I got here. When I was 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
Many years ago, my dad came to town and dragged us all
away
from our family. No, Utah. Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake. Okay.
Yeah. Dragged us here, and we never went back.
Never went back.
And your sister? How many sisters did you
have? 3 and 1 brother.
3 and 1 brother.
Yeah, so 5 kids all together.
Yeah.
But my mom and dad was like kids too, so they never grew up. So it was a house full of kids. So.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up? He was a big songwriter, and he played with Waylon. What was it like growing up with your dad?
Well,
musical
crazy.
Family.
Yes, crazy. A lot of crazy stuff going on, but it was fun. We always had music in the house, and we was always singing. And my mother taught us all the harmony parts. That's how it all came together. Is we'd be singing, and then she just started teaching us. You do this one, you'll sound better. And so that's how we became Comanche.
Wow.
We just because my mother, she could do all kinds of. She'd do harmony with Tom Paul Glazier.
Yeah.
She did his last album or 2 with him, and he would come in the booth and say, "Okay, am I doing the right harmony over here?" So he would be asking her what harmony. So that was a great compliment from my mother.
Yeah.
And so
one of the original outlaws there,
Yeah, yeah.
So, well, very cool. So you grew up all around that, and did your dad teach you how to play guitar and everything?
Yeah, when I was about, I guess I started playing around with it when I was about 3 or 4, and then when I was probably about 6, he started teaching me little chords, and then.
So you had a late start on it. So,
yeah.
But you've done very well.
I was way old, compared to how they are now. Now they're 4 and they're stars.
Yeah, record deals, right? Yeah. Marty, you tell me they're starting to sign embryos and
Sony signed an embryo last week. And it's genetic engineering.
Yes. Yeah. But you grew up around it, and I mean, it wasn't unusual for people like Eddie Rabbitt to stop by and sing with you guys and stuff.
No, actually, Eddie. All these people my dad knew all of them before they was anybody. Before they just came to town. So a lot of them, like Eddie Rabbitt, lived with us for about, 9 months.
Did he really?
Before he was Eddie Rabbitt. So, and then he used to entertain all the kids in the neighborhood because he would do Elvis impersonations.
He did do Elvis, didn't he?
Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so everybody, we just had a great time. And, Waylon and Jesse became over there before they was Waylon and Jesse, and they all had kids our age.
Yeah.
So we all kind of just fell into these two play together, these two,
Right.
So, but it was a house full.
Yeah.
So there's always something going on.
The most listened to podcast to this day on our series on YouTube has been Jenny Jennings, who's a real good friend of yours.
Yeah.
And she still gets thousands of listens.
I know. I was checking it out the other day, and it was like,
it
was, I don't know how many days, but I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So you're about the same age, and you grew up together and around it, and you became really good friends, huh?
Yeah.
Now, was she in the Comanches too, or?
Yeah, she was in Comanche the first, I think, year and a half.
Yeah.
And then
who was all in that band now? Who was all?
It was me, Jenny, my sister Crystal, and my sister Debbie.
Debbie, okay. I was thinking, didn't your mom join you too from time to time, or no?
Well, when Jenny left the group, then my mother joined in because we was just getting ready at that point to do a showcase and everything. We had it all. So when she kind of left it, then my mother jumped in.
Yeah.
Because we already had the showcase, set up and everything, so she had to fill in because
that is so Nashville when you lose a member and you recruit a family member to fill in. That's exactly Nashville.
And it's like you always say, with the photos just taken. Right?
That's right. The group photo is taken and the group breaks up.
What happens. Yeah.
Well, I can't remember exactly if we had that date set, the showcase before it happened. Because if we would have, she might have not have, left it before that. We probably would have continued on and got that done. But reasons came up. I can't even remember. It's been so long ago, I can't remember the reason. But I know my mother jumped in at the last minute because she was the best one to do it. She taught us, so
she taught you.
Why
how to
not?
Do it, so she
knew all the parts.
Yeah.
Now, where did the name come from, Comanche?
My dad just came up with it because it was a pretty name. He was trying to find something that sounded, good for girls and stuff. And plus, my mother has some kind of. Her dad was Indian.
Okay.
Full-blooded Indian, but I don't know what kind.
Okay.
But
we can imagine it was Comanche.
So he just did that. And
great. It was
and we spelled it with an I.
With an I?
Yeah, to make it.
Now, is any of that music out there available? Can we hear it anywhere? No?
On a CD that I...
on a CD that you have. Do you ever think about putting it out to the world now? The way things are today?
No, not really. I could, because I've got the final, mix and stuff on it. So
I think that would be a neat thing. Mark, don't you think?
Yeah,
I'd love to hear that.
Far different than my situation. There's a lot of stuff I don't want anybody to ever hear, and so
me too.
What happens is you get enamored with what you're doing currently, and that's one of the things that's hard for anybody. But it would be fun. Yeah, it would always be fun.
You grow as a writer and an artist, and then you look back and you go, "That was me."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hear some stuff. I recently heard some stuff that somebody sent me, and I posted it. It was from the rock band that I was in, 24 Karat, and we were in Los Angeles.
Wow.
We were in Los Angeles, and we were playing this Miller High Life Rock to Riches National Talent Search. It was kind of like a star search. It was the voice of its day, and it's the show on stage, and I'm hearing me, and it sounds like the whole band. And I knew we only had 15 minutes to do 4 songs, so it's just boom, 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 and it's so fast, and I'm singing so high, I sound like Geddy Lee from Rush. And it's got, but it did have one little cute thing that we did, and I remember I'd forgotten about it and I laughed at it. Our big song was called "Stay With Me," and it had this groove. And at the end of the song, I got the band to do the "Welcome to Miller Time" theme.
Oh, that's
and that's why we won the contest.
Good marketing.
Little cheat, maybe that'll work. Yeah, but so sometimes you want to put some of this stuff. So maybe putting a song out from time to time would not be a bad idea.
Just an idea. You don't have to.
Well, it'd be, I guess, fun to do that.
Yeah. But you got current stuff out there right now, and you've been recording new music.
Yes, recording new stuff.
I loved your last album.
Mark-Alan Barnette right there.
Yeah. Yep. You guys write a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She came around at a time, I guess, walking back into writers' nights after you had been away for a while had to be a culture shock.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Because so many people don't understand how many people are coming to town trying to do this.
Yeah.
And you go to a writers' night, and there's, Debbie Champion routinely has 20 writers, 35 writers, open micers, and there's still another 15 that are there. The Bluebird would do their audition on their audition, and they'll have 500 people show up.
Isn't that crazy?
And then on open mic on Monday nights, they'd have to turn away 150 people because there's so many people that want to play.
That's crazy.
So she walked back into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one of the times me and my sister, we thought, well, back in the day, you could just walk up and go in the places and
play.
And the office is downtown. To try to talk to somebody, Curb Records and stuff like that. You could just walk in and and sometimes you could even say, "Hey, I don't have an appointment," but they would call up there, and if they wouldn't be, they'd let you on up.
And that's something.
So we thought, well, we don't know nobody now, so this is like one of our first times going there, and so we went to Curb Records. Mm-hmm. We walked in. And it was so funny because the women said, "Have you got an appointment?" We said, "No, but we thought maybe we might, if he wasn't too busy, we would see Mike Curb."
Yeah.
And she went, "Hold on just a minute." And then just a second later, the cop came over, and it was like he picked us up, like that cartoon that picks the cat up and sits him out the door, and it comes in, and that's what happened. He didn't really pick us up, but that's what it felt like. Right out the door.
Kidding?
Do you know?
I thought,
wow, unreal.
Do you know the story about the guy who showed up with the shotgun? Did you ever hear this story?
No. There
was a very, very famous publisher, producer, and a vice president, and I don't want to say his name because I don't want to do that, but he showed up one morning going into one of the major labels, and a guy pulled up in a pickup truck up, and they had a little driveway up, and the guy said, "Hey, do you know so-and-so?" Named his name. And said, "Well, no, I think he might be inside." So the guy said, "Well, I sent him some songs. I want to know why they hadn't been cut." And the guy leaned in. He looked up, and there's a shotgun on the seat. And so he went in, and then security came in. Right after that, all the gates started coming up, and that's that's part of the whole no unsolicited material. You can't just walk in. You can't just mail things in. There are copyright problems now. There are legal problems. So even but yeah.
So after that happened, I thought, well, everybody we knew too had passed away.
That's right.
Harlan Howard had passed away. Eddie, everybody. So we didn't know anybody where we could go in to the office and just walk in and say, hey. So I thought, well, now I'm scared. Now I don't know what to do. So that's when I started looking at writers' nights and stuff, and that's when I found Maxwell House. And I have to say, Lee. I really owe him a lot because he introduced me to everybody that I know right now and hanging out with.
What a great guy.
Yeah. So he every night, Wednesday and Thursday night, he'd let me sit up there with the table with him, so I wouldn't have to be sitting there alone. How that is.
He's just such a great guy.
Yeah, and he introduced me to Mark and Paul Jefferson and
Jefferson, big writer, been on the show.
Yeah. And Jerry Foster and just Jimmy Payne. Everybody that I
Jimmy Payne.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I love Jimmy Payne. Yeah. Everybody that I know, Lee introduced me to. So, and then I started going to Debbie's, and then she introduced me to a lot of people too. But the first place was
two people in this town that you
Debbie
mentioned.
Champion,
that if you're coming, to, you got to meet Debbie Champion. And,
Debbie Chapman is wonderful.
Running the writers' rounds. It's so many. I don't think you can get there without going through those.
You can't.
No.
You can't. It's the equivalent of the open cattle call that actors go through when they have to go just audition. Right. And you get these open cattle calls, and anybody can show up. Then, in order to get into the real thing, you got to have an agent. But you can't get an agent till you go through those open cattle calls. Yeah. And it's kind of a recommendation. And so the writers' nights, going from open mic to invited writers' nights, that's kind of how
That's the progression right there. And then you meet people that you want to write with, that you like their style, and you just start co-writing. And then before you know it, you get your own class of people that you're working with, and you graduate on up and keep going, So, but you had it, this is the thing about your story that just blows me away. So back in the day, you had all of these legends around you. And
yes, I was going to say one more thing about that is when we did our showcase, Harlan Howard that wrote
Tiger by the Tail.
Tiger,
in every song.
Him and Tom Paul Glazier was they was the ones that put on our showcase.
Wow.
Paid for it. Well, Waylon actually took us in the studio when he first heard us all singing like that. And he immediately put us in the studio and cut our first album. And then when we did our showcase, it was everybody jumped in. It was like Jerry Kerrigan, the drummer Jerry Kerrigan from back in the day. You know him? Mm-hmm. He drummed on everything. And
A-lister.
The A-list studio players.
Joe Osborne. He was on our side. He played on everything and never would take no money. He played on everything that we did because he was trying. Everybody was trying to get us a deal. So when we did that, Harold Bradley was our band leader. And that's one thing I wish somebody would have recorded, filmed, but didn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was harder to do at that time.
Yeah.
You didn't have camera phones. You didn't have.
Yeah.
So it was harder to do.
But that was, instead of Frank having us on the X, that was one time he should have had us, but we didn't have that. But it turned out really well. When we walked in, there was nobody there. We thought, oh, this ain't going to be good. And then when they called us out on stage, the whole house was packed. And
wow. Where was
Tom
it at?
Paul was there. It was right there on the circle somewhere,
Another club that no longer exists.
Yes, and I can't even remember, but right there on the main,
on the circle where the naked statues are. Okay.
Penis de Milo.
But anyway, Tom Paul was there, and Harlan was there, and Jesse was there, and Waylon didn't come because he said if he did, everybody would be trying to
about him, and he wanted to be about you.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's great.
So it was a good time.
So all these legends. Then when you try to get back to it,
it was scary.
They're gone, and it's just.
And that's why I'm so glad I met Mark-Alan Barnette and you, Dave, because you have to meet people and where you can hang out and people you trust. and enjoy being around. So
that's why we call it the Songwriter Connection. And
Yep.
the other thing we're known about on this is playing live music around the dining room table. And we've talked for almost 20 minutes without doing that. So I think
okay.
it's time for an Angie Lou song.
Angie Lou song. When you write with girls, and you and I, we've written with all these things, again, so many women particularly, but guys do it too, but they do what I lovingly refer to as ACSS, Angry Chick Singer Syndrome.
That's right.
And we hear these things on a writer's night, and I feel like my job should be taking the silverware off the tables because it's just they're just so angry. So
Slashed your wrists.
when I got with Angie, she would bring up some titles of some things she had talked about writing with her dad, or I tried to, and I thought, well, it doesn't have to be a depressing song, even a breakup song. It doesn't have to be depressing, and that's where this came from. Is that right? So this is Best Broken Heart.
it was 6 months to the day I swore I threw away those pictures that we took in Mexico. When I came across that box, I thought the garbage truck hauled off of our lives together that seemed so long ago. Well, hindsight's 20/20 when it comes to memories. The good ones always outweigh the bad. If I could do it all again, take a trip to way back then, I'd do it fast, 'cause you're the best broken heart I've ever had. Lessons learned and pages turned, but it doesn't always got to be so sad. The way you held me would always melt me. One kiss from you would always bring me back. Oh, but some things just don't last, so we'll leave that in the past. Now concentrate on the love that we lacked. A part of me wants to forget you, but after all that we've been through, I can't forget, 'cause you're the best broken heart I've ever had. I guess all that's left to say is I'm grateful for the way time has of healing every single wound. And I can file this under closed and move on down the road and be happy for every moment shared with you. And in the future when we meet, walking down the street, I'll give you a smile and say it wasn't really all that bad. If I could do it all again, take a trip to way back then, I'd do it fast, 'cause you're the best broken heart I've ever had. Lessons learned and pages turned, but it doesn't always got to be so sad. The way you held me would always melt me. One kiss from you would always bring me back. Oh, but some things just don't last, so we'll leave that in the past. Now concentrate on the love that we lacked. A part of me wants to forget you, but after all that we've been through, I can't forget, 'cause you're the best broken heart I've ever had. I know I won't forget, 'cause you're the best broken heart I've ever had.
Oh, yeah. Mark-Alan on the guitar. Angie Jolyn, who's our guest today. What a great
Thank
voice.
you.
Great song,
That was
too.
fun.
And that's also, I should say, that's on your album that's out there everywhere, The Fire I Can't Put Out. Which
Yes,
I
yes.
love that album. That
Well,
has got
thank you.
so many great songs,
you
including,
very much.
You've got Jenny and Jesse Coulter on that, don't you?
Yes, yes, on the, I think the third track called Still in Love with You.
Yeah.
The original Outlaw.
The
original
Jesse
Outlaw.
Coulter, Waylon Jennings, Willie,
Yes.
Tom Hall.
Yeah.
And
Recently,
the funny thing about that story is, I'll just do it real quick. I wrote that like I was 17 or 18 back then, and when Jessie heard it, she for years, she'd always say, that should be a standard. That should be a standard song. Somebody's going to cut that song one day. It's going to be a major hit, but so far, not. But all these years later, when I went to the studio to record it, then she came in and sang half the song with me, and then Jenny sang the other part, and I just kind of ended it. So it was mainly them, and I just took it out, but it was a great honor to have her do that after she believed in the song so many years. So that was
and the song is called, and it's on this album.
It's called "Still in Love with You."
Still in Love with You. It's a great song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely awesome. Hey, let's take a little break. When we come back, we're going to have more with Angie Jolyn and Mark-Alan Barnette.
We can eat cookies.
And let's eat cookies. Cookie time.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection, connecting with music makers and hearing their songs and stories. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
If you're listening on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe, as that really helps us a lot. Appreciate that. We're still experimenting with the idea of going video on the podcast, but video killed the radio star, and I'm the radio guy, so I've been struggling with that. But my friend Sean Casey was here, was telling me about a setup that we could do, and he said, "Hey, we're going to make it happen. And next time I come from South Africa, we're going to put it together." And I said, "Okay, all right, we'll try it."
Yeah.
Nobody needs to see my radio face, but
Sean learned a lot about Nashville from your podcast.
And from you on your tours.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Mark-Alan Barnette tours.
Okay.
Tell us all about it.
The tour is through, it's a little misleading because people go, well, I'll drive around town. I said, well, you can. But it's basically a tour through the past, the present, and the future of the participant. And people will come in. One of the problems that you have in Nashville, nobody listens to songs anymore. You can't get in to see publishers. And so I go through people's catalog, the past. I find out what they've done before they got here, what brought them to Nashville. And some people are singers, some people are writers, some people are just looking for an interesting Nashville experience that have never been around. And so they'll come, and I will then go through their present and try to introduce them to people who they might help, just like Angie on Writers' Nights, try to give them a little inside information. And then the future, I help give them some actionable steps that they can do and take their career to the next thing. And I also am a big believer in hometown heroes. You yourself, you guys are up in Cincinnati, and one of the things that we as songwriters here, the old dogs, we love to go out of town. We love to talk to people about it. And that gives another layer so that when you come to town, you already know some people. And so my entire idea was just people kept coming to me and asking me for what I call brain picking. I want to pick your brain. Well, there's a fee for picking in the brain patch, I'm happy to give general information, but when you you got to go through actually line by line, note by note on people's songs, and then say there are so many songs and so many songwriters here. Sometimes it's not so much that the song might be not bad or not good. It just might be done a lot. Right. And it's very difficult to have those songs that stand out, and that's what you're trying to do. So what I try to do is go through, find out who the person is and what their next step needs to be, and so that's kind of what I do on the Mark-Alan Barnette Songwriter Tours.
It's such a big help. He is very great at everything he does, and so I suggest everybody run that way towards him when they come to town.
And if you see him perform in a writer's round, you can understand why.
Oh, yes.
He's just the most amazing performer that you've ever seen.
I come up and say hi. I get this, and I get a lot of things from you. I've had about 5 people coming and working with me, and Dave and the people I've been around over the years, I try to be honest and genuine with everybody, and the tours never end. Once you meet me, I'm going to throw you in the middle of a bunch of people, and that's going to tell you. God, how many people? How many people have you taken from me and gotten on the Wednesday night shows? And that's the way Nashville works. Nashville is a circle of friends.
It is
today. Everybody is so afraid of lawsuits. There's so many people trying to do this. It's very difficult to find an ally anymore till you actually know them. That's what I try to do. I try to get you introduced. It's the good mark keeping sound, the good mark keeping sign of approval.
Absolutely. I know you were a big help to our group in Cincinnati, and we had a real serious group of writers in Cincinnati. One of which we just lost recently, our good friend Tim Skeen.
Tim Skeen.
And God, he was really one of the best songwriters I ever had the pleasure of knowing and working with. And I tell you, we took this really, really hard losing him because it was kind of fast. But Greg Althammer is our brother from another mother, and I don't know if you know this, but I want to tell you folks about it. If you go on Reverb Nation and you look up Tim Skeen, Greg put together a page of some amazing songs that Tim wrote, and some of them are just work tapes where he'll go, "Here's an alternate ending on this song," and the one song he does an alternate ending. And it's a song about heaven, and I'll tell you, I listened to the alternate ending. And I broke down crying last night. I just couldn't believe it. So, I mean, the guy's songs are powerful, and I think they'll hit you. Reverb Nation, Tim Skeen, and Mark worked really hard with all of us there in Cincinnati.
The ultimate tribute to a songwriter is their songs going on after them.
Yeah.
That's the legacy. And Tim certainly deserved it, and I'm so glad you guys did that. He was a great, great guy.
He really, really was. Well, Angie is our guest, Angie Jolyn. And, you said she looked a lot like...
She did.
But she also sounds... She's got that, Emmylou kind of vibe to her voice, which I just absolutely love. Your singing style... Explain. What's Angie Jolyn?
Who are you influenced by?
Yeah.
Well, it's probably going to sound strange, but Olivia Newton-John was my favorite all-time singer.
Really?
And still is.
Yeah. Oh, my.
So I know that kind of sounds weird because she wasn't... Well, she was... I thought she was completely country until she went over.
Her first two songs were mainly country.
Please, Mr. Please was one of my favorite.
Well, If You Love Me, Let Me Go. Those were very country.
Yeah.
But that was the years when you could get crossover success on all these different genres. But Dolly also is a big influence on you.
Yeah, and my whole family. But my favorite singer, I would sit there and listen to her all night, and plus Linda Ronstadt. We had Linda Ronstadt and Olivia Newton-John going in constantly. Crystal was more on the Linda Ronstadt thing, and I was more on the Olivia Newton-John. We just keep them going and we'd learn all their stuff, and so that's.
When did you first start into songwriting?
Well, gosh, I was doing that when I was real young.
Yeah.
I was doing that probably 12 and 13, where I was actually really trying to do some, but, from the time I was 3, I was writing on paper plates, just doing little silly stuff, but I always was doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Running things past your dad, who's the big hit songwriter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you write with him?
Yes. I was going to say the first little silly song I wrote when I was like 3, my mother and everybody laughs at it. I don't even know where it came from. It was, poor people stepped on needles, never thought they would die, but they did. Good God, I hate to tell that, but
how old were you?
Like
3, 4?
3, 4. Just that was my first little thing. I'd be walking around and
See about that stuff you don't want cutting out. That's why.
But I don't even know where that came from, but that's a kid for you. But they don't let me forget it. They all know the tune and they sing it all the time to me.
No kidding. That's a hit. It lives on. It lives on. Absolutely.
Oh gosh.
Well, we need to hear another song, I think, because we're short on songs on this one, and songwriter connections about songs around the dining room table. What do you want to do for us next?
Let's do Shadows. Tell them about your mother.
Good. I was going to lead into that one. I'm glad you chose that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah. So your mom.
Yeah, my beautiful mother lives with me now. She's 84, getting ready to be 85 in December. Mm-hmm. And so I've been taking care of her for about 5 years. She's been living with me. And I just went over to Mark's one day and we just started talking about our mothers, me and Mark Monroe. Mm-hmm. And just my everyday thing I get up and do every day with her, and I'm glad I get to. And we just... Mark just started writing everything down we was saying, and the next thing you knew, he had a song sitting there for us with just about every line that everybody was saying in the room.
He does that.
He put it in so perfectly placed, like it was like it wrote itself, but he really did. But it was just a wonderful experience. So appreciate it, Mark.
Amazing song.
Send this out to my mama. I can see her in the next room. It's almost medication time. Then we'll all have supper, watch TV, and she'll smile that little smile. Doesn't really say much, but her eyes are just as bright. You can almost see those memories as they dance across her mind. She raised our whole family. It's amazing all the things she did. Kept us all together, got us raised, then raised her grandkids. Taught us to sing in perfect harmony, pretty much everything we need. Nursed us through the hard times, strong enough to always make me see. I'm standing in her shadow, see more of her in me each day. And I swear that's a good thing. That's where I always feel safe. It's where I get it all from. Still where I always draw my strength. Standing in her shadow, and that's the best place I'll ever be. Sometimes I wondered how she was strong enough to always love our dad. Fixed his favorite dish, ham fried rice, wear clothes he liked, both good and bad. She tracked down my sister, skipping school down by the lake with her friends. It was punishment enough with just one look. We never do that again. And I'm standing in her shadow, see more of her in me each day. And I swear that's a good thing. That's where I always feel safe. It's where I get it all from. Still where I always draw my strength. Standing in her shadow, and that's the best place I'll ever be. She taught life lessons big and small, always loved us through it all. Now I cast a shadow of my own, but I owe it all to her. It was more than I deserved, and I hope she always knows. I'm standing in her shadow, see more of her in me each day. And I swear that's a good thing. That's where I always feel safe. It's where I get it all from. Still where I always draw my strength. Standing in her shadow, and that's the best place I'll ever be. Standing in her shadow, and that's the best place I'll ever be.
can bring me to tears. What a great song. And a great tribute to
Thank
your
you, Mark.
mom.
Thank you, Dave.
Awesome.
I know, my mama.
Yeah. What's your mama's name?
Kay.
Kay?
Casey. They called her Casey.
She had that band Casey and the Sunshine.
And the Sunshine
Band,
Band.
and
Was
then
your mom?
turned it
No,
over
it's
to
not.
Her real name is Venus K. Millette.
Venus? Really?
Venus.
You're Venus.
Venus.
How about that? Wow.
Yep.
That's just really awesome. How long did it take you to be able to sing that without crying?
Well, actually, every time I sing it, I have
I'll
to try
bet.
to just, act like it's just a different song because the middle part, the bridge, is harder for me to sing. Mm-hmm. And when he breaks it down and stuff, so sometimes
Casting a shadow of your own.
it don't come out all that well because I'm.
And it never fails to get women coming up to you.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Just happened the other night. The woman that came
I
up.
need to send her that too. I forgot. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Now, has your mom heard it? And what does she think?
Oh, she loves it. She heard it, and yeah.
There is one little part that is not about her mother. It's actually her father. The chasing down. Her sister was skipping school one day and went to the Parthenon, and her dad chased her. His dad chased him down with his van
He
at the
went
Parthenon.
ran around the building. And as she laughed, she ran and was laughing her head off as he was chasing her. They called him from school and said, "Your daughter is not here again today," and he knew exactly where she was.
The Parthenon, what's the hangout, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the one thing. But everything else is her mother. Every single line. So,
That's just unbelievable.
But it kind of snuck Daddy in there too.
yeah, I had to tribute.
He'll be laughing up there in heaven
Yeah.
when he hears it.
I'm sure he will.
Oh gosh, wonderful song, Mark.
It really is.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. I love
Wrote
feeding
itself.
him lines and things, and then he comes, he just turns them into these amazing songs,
Well, songs are just conversations. You just have to find the placement of it. And one of the things that writers have, there's two things that writers, and I'll just say less experienced writers, say too much itis and play too much itis.
Yes.
They'll have.
I've seen it.
So many guitar chords. All these Belmont graduates have learned every guitar chord, and they got all of the place. And then they got so much information coming at you, and it's like they got to have every syllable's got to be, and you can't understand what they're saying. And if people don't understand you, they don't understand you. So finding the placement of songs and knowing the kind of voice that she already has, it all molds itself. And then you've got to have there's singers. It's a weird thing. Singers tend to like to breathe. And I've noticed that's something, and if you got too many words, you don't get the breath in, and so your voice goes all flat and sharp. And so when you're taking these things, you also got to, in the back of your mind, everything I do there's a little clock running in it. I've got to get to a certain section at a certain time. And that's a little bit longer song. So one of the ways that you kind of do this, here you go, guitar players, you add little layers as it goes through the song. And those little breaks, those little pauses are what makes people go, oh, there's something else. Oh, there's something else. Yeah. And so they're listening to it's music is a very interesting thing because there's all kinds of little sub things underneath going on. If you take something like the Eagles and you do, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind. Take it easy. Take it easy. And that's called prosody. And so that's the things that you have to do. And so all of these little layers go in, and you can take the words, but you've got to be able to edit those words too. And that's the thing I learned from people like Jimbo Henson and Ron Muir. I learned, these people, when you're a new writer, and you just want to write everything and you're writing stuff down. Right. They can say more with half of what you say, and you go, oh my God, I wrote 4 pages of stuff and I'm like, yeah, I didn't need that.
With today's modern pop kind of country, and just pop music in general, I think, doesn't it seem like it is a more word kind of
wordy. Yeah, it is.
It's so wordy today.
Yeah,
it seems like every beat's got to have that syllable.
And I think,
and it seems to me it's more words, less melody.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It comes from the rap influences, where you just got those machine gun things on there.
Right.
And the problem that we're having in music, and then it's across the board, people don't want to pay for music anymore.
No.
There's so much product out there, and there's so many things out there coming at them that they just, most of it's not, they're just not interested in paying for.
Right.
And songwriters and artists are having a huge problem trying to monetize what they do, because there's just so many people. And this is all our dilemma. How do we get what we do? Well, my particular thing is you start out with the song. There's an NSAI thing. It all begins with the song. And you still have those breakthrough songs, those enormous songs. They have words in them, but every line, every word means something. And so you don't have to say so much. I think less is more.
Well, I was just going to say less is more.
Less is more. Yeah.
Less is more.
Like
Another song about it. Yeah.
I'm not Lisa. I'm not Lisa.
Yeah.
I mean, look how simple.
Yeah, but it
that
now
is, but-
married with an amazing melody.
That's right.
Yeah.
An amazing melody. You know?
Yeah.
The songs that are classics for a reason, because people can understand them, they get it, and they can sing along with it. And it all has to work.
I'll tell you a little story about that song.
Sure.
If you don't mind.
I'm not Lisa. Yeah.
Yes. When we hung out all the time. And so they'd always have these New Year's Eve parties and invite Mom and Daddy over and all the kids. And
Who's the they?
Yeah.
Waylon and Jesse.
Jesse Cole.
Waylon and Jesse. Okay.
They would, because all of us kids were the same age, so they'd have these parties. My dad would always say, Jessie and her big ideas. Because she was all the time having fun and getting my mother to come over and have fun and do all that stuff. So we were sitting there around it was in I can't remember what house they was in, but it was down in their basement, and had their, Jessie had her little piano sitting there that Jennifer's got in her house right now, the same piano. Uh-huh. And she said, I want to play everybody something. We all had our little glasses of wine, but our glasses was punch or something. But she'd always make it feel like we was all in the thing.
That's
too.
cool, yeah.
And so we all gathered around, and she started singing I'm Not Lisa. And she only had like the first verse and a little bit of the chorus. Uh-huh. But she had the melody, and she was playing it, and we was all thinking, oh my God, that was so. And I remember I was just like 6 or 7.
Wow.
And then years later, I don't know if it was that many years, but we had went to California for a few weeks, and we was all playing around the pool. Mm-hmm. And the next thing we knew, back then they'd have big music coming over the pool.
On the
things.
radio.
Yeah. Back when there was good radio stations, and it was I'm Not Lisa. We heard it, and we'd start. And see, Jessie always kind of, Olivia Newton-John and Jessie's voice kind of had that same tone. Mm-hmm. So when it first came on, I thought it was Olivia Newton-John for a minute, and then I thought, no, I've heard that. And then I would tell Mom and Dad, I said, that's Jessie, and then they noticed it. And it was I'm Not Lisa.
Now, was that the one that she played for Waylon? Didn't think it could be anything, and he said, "No, you've got to record that and release that." Was it? I'm not. I think that was the song.
It could have been. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I can remember, and this will be one of my fondest songwriter memories. Mm-hmm. And I went over to write with Jenny one day at her place. And in her kitchen, all the pictures of the family. There's Waylon and Jesse. And, and then on this side, Eddie, Dwayne Eddie. And then she walks me into the living room, and there's this stand-up piano. And she sits down and she starts playing, I think she was playing Storms Never Last. And she goes, this was my mom's piano. She wrote I'm Not Lisa on this. And I could feel, as I'm telling this story, I still feel my hair.
That's the piano.
Stick up. It's, oh my gosh.
That's the piano she was playing it on.
What
that
a story.
Yeah.
Wow.
You talk about, you have these kids of celebrities, and they'll have an actor or whatever. Imagine having 3 celebrities.
Imagine.
Her dad is Dwayne Eddy, one of the fathers of twang guitar.
Yes.
Her mother is Jessie Coulter, and her stepfather is Waylon Jennings. Yeah. That's a pile of people.
It really is. And
Yeah,
it made for a very interesting podcast. You can check it out. It's out there.
Yeah.
It's Songwriter Connection, Jenny Eddy Jennings. And
it was great when I heard it. I listened to it.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Win Varble playing "Waiting on a Woman" for us years before that was ever recorded, and that's a thrill, And when we first heard it, we knew. We were talking about Tim Skeen.
Yeah.
I was standing next to Tim, and we both like drop our beers, like, wow, man, we knew it was going to be a hit, and a few years later, it was. So those magic memories like that. Now you've got new music that you've been recording, right, Angie?
Yes. We've recorded 3 new ones.
Okay.
And,
over at Jay's Place on Music Row?
Jay's Place
Yeah.
Studio on Music Row.
Jay's Place.
Yeah.
Jay's
The
Place.
place for Jay.
And,
Can you play us something or one of the new things?
I don't know.
Or no? What do you think? Or no?
I don't know what.
Or do you?
It's up to him. I'm gonna let him. choose.
I was going to say, I thought we ought to stick with what's on.
Okay.
Is 13 Shots on?
Well, I was hoping you'd do 13
Well,
shots.
13 shots will be on the.
That's okay. That's fine.
That's going to be on this new record.
Yeah,
with Shadow, right?
Yes.
Okay,
It'll
good,
be
good.
Shadows, 13 shots, and then the new 3 ones.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, 13 Shots has got a heck of a story, right?
Yes, it does.
You got to tell us the story.
Well, it wasn't really me, but I guess I'll start it out and let him end it. No, we were just in Gatlinburg at the Songwriters Festival. We always go into these festivals, And walking down the street, me and Billy Joe and Mark Monroe and
Judy Monroe
and
Perry Ball.
and I and
Yeah, the whole entourage.
Yeah,
in
the
here.
entourage.
yeah, and I think Charles and Janet was there one year. We did it like 2 years in a row, but this particular time we seen the sign that said, "Come on in." You know how they have so many little shots of whiskey for so much, and
Trying to get you in.
yeah, and so we went in there and did that, and so we was laughing about it, and I told Mark about it, that we all went in there and did these shots of whiskeys for $5. That was the whole killer of it. It was $5. You can't turn that down. So, I don't care if it's 3 shots or 13. You're going to go in for $5.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so I'll turn it over to him. Then after he heard that for a while, laughed his butt off about it. He thought it was funny. He wrote a song, and
Well, I had left that group because I had to
Yeah.
come back to Nashville. It was the Gatlinburg Songwriter.
that's right. He left us. See, he left us
I left these
where it all
young
began.
kids.
to take care of ourselves.
That's
Jay.
right. They cannot take care of themselves, and I left them. I was the adult in the room, and those crazy. But they went out, and it was. You see these signs,
Yeah.
and it said, well, like 8 shots. Well, it's the little bitty thimbleful, That's what
Yeah.
it is, and I just thought that was just funny, and so one day I just started thinking, I could come up with a pretty funny story based around what she did, and that's what it did. The main part of the song is that I just wanted to rhyme the word Uber.
I was going to
That
ask
was
you
the
about that
whole
line.
the whole point of the song. So
Most amazing rhyme. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but listen for that. Yeah.
here we go.
I was walking down the street in Gatlinburg, trying to figure out why he left me for her. Sign stopped me in my tracks, could not believe my luck. Said, come taste all our bourbons, 13 shots for $5. I had 13 shots of whiskey, my lucky number. Best way to handle a jilted lover. 14 is too many, a dozen ain't enough. 13 shots of whiskey, that's how you handle lost love. Started with a couple with a mellow aftertaste. By the 5th jukebox played, he stopped loving her today. Number 9 had me dancing, now the band was playing. Crowd cheered me on while I was dancing on the tables. I had 13 shots of whiskey, my lucky number. Best way to handle a jilted lover. 14 is too many, a dozen ain't enough. 13 shots of whiskey, that's how you handle lost love. The story ends fine. Grabbed a ride from Uber, forgot what's his name, 'cause my driver was cuter. I had 13 shots of whiskey, my lucky number. Best way to handle a jilted lover. 14 is too many, a dozen ain't enough. 13 shots of whiskey, that's how you handle lust. Love. 13 shots of whiskey. Ooh, yeah. 13 shots of whiskey. Oh my God.
Driver was cuter. That's how you rhyme too, baby. Let me tell you. What a great song. And it's going to be on your new record coming out sometime after the first of the year.
Yeah,
right?
sometime after the first. Yeah.
That's awesome. All the best with it. And
Well, thank you so much, Dave, for having me.
And please listen to The Fire I Can't Put Out, which is a great record that's out there right now. So.
Yes, and most of that record CD has Mark's writing on it.
And you.
Yes. Well,
we
I
write them
just,
together, but,
yeah. Well, that one had quite a few songs on it, but half of them, at least he's on half of them.
I'm trying to be her Colonel Tom Parker.
But this one's just actually going to be just a few songs, and they'll all be
Yeah, she's cutting me out of the deal. Nah, she's
They
doing
reached
great.
that level, Mark, right? They reached that level, and
they move on.
They
That's
move on.
exactly
That's how it works.
When I was working with Olivia Newton-John, that's what happened. No, she's doing great, and it's a lot of fun to watch somebody who's just kind of coming back into it, and then you watch more and more people paying attention.
Yeah,
and that's what I think is the coolest thing. She's doing great. She's doing
really
very good.
She's out there. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Dave.
You're welcome.
Dave has me playing on all these shows,
right.
12 Keys and all that with him, and asks me all the time. And
just remember
Mark,
when you see her, say Angelou.
And Mark, I really can't tell you how much I appreciate you helping me. Wow. He was one of the first people that I met at the Maxwell House and just kind of guided me through stuff. So I really appreciate it.
And it never stops. Mark, thank you so much for all you do and everything.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. For being on the show, too.
Yes.
It's always
thank
good
you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Lanahan's Nashville Connections radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.